All right, so in this video, we're going to kind of take it from beginning to end, and we're going to go through how to create an electrical plan using the families that you have downloaded. So if you haven't done an electrical plan before, a lot of this will be new. If you have done an electrical plan before, some of this will be new regarding the parts where we use my families that we've created. But hopefully, after you've seen this, electrical plans will never be a problem for you again. They'll be easy and intuitive, and they will look better than they've ever looked before. So to get started, what I've done is I have an empty floor plan that I've created in just a general main level view, just a floor plan view. And we're going to just go through the steps of what someone who's doing a residential electrical plan might do. So where I like to start is if I've got my floor plan and I've mostly got it the way I want it, I'm just going to duplicate that view. And I'm going to duplicate it with detailing. That's up to you how you want to do it. I don't have much detailing in this view. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to name this main level electrical plan. All right, so here's my electrical plan. I'm going to close my other version. I'm going to crop my view. Well, I'll keep it like this. So you'll notice I'm doing this in a file that's similar to the example file that comes with this download. So you can see I've got all of the lights and outlets and electrical stuff down here at the bottom. I just haven't put anything into my floor plan yet. So I'm going to keep that here because that's a fast way to grab what I need to grab without having to look through all my families. So here we are with the floor plan. So before you get right into creating the electrical plan, let's take some time. I like to tidy up my floor plan. Well, I like to tidy up what's now my electrical plan to make it visually more appealing. So the first problem I see with this floor plan is it's too busy. You can see the walls. There's too many lines in the walls. There's no reason we need to have this at a fine detail level. So I'm going to change it to coarse. So all my walls get simplified because the point of an electrical plan is not to tell what the construction of the wall is. So I'm going to simplify that. I'm also going to go into the visibility graphics, and I'm going to find the walls. And I'm even going to have the cut pattern be filled with light gray. Now, again, it's up to you on what you prefer, but I think this looks better. Visually, it's more appealing to me. Then the other thing I like to do is I like to gray out the information that isn't critical to an electrical plan. So like the doors and windows, and in this example, I don't have windows in because I didn't take it to that extent, but the cabinetry, the plumbing fixtures, all of that, I think that could be half-toned. So I'm going to go to the doors, and I'm going to click those to be half-toned. Let's go to the plumbing fixtures. We'll make those half-tone. Let's do the casework. We'll make that half-tone. What else? Let's click OK. Okay, so instantly now, really all I care about are the rooms. And I do keep the room tags black because I do think it matters, the room label. Okay, so now I've got my floor plan looking pretty good, so I'm not going to be distracted by a bunch of information that isn't the intent of the floor plan. The other thing I want to add is I want to put lights in the soffit on the exterior of the building. And I want to be able to see, so like in the theater, I have a tray ceiling, and in the primary bedroom, I also have a tray ceiling. And then there's a vault in the middle of the great room and the kitchen. So I'd like to be able to see those. So that's the next chore I'm going to do, is I'm going to turn on an underlay so that I can see up at the ceiling. So if I go over here, if I click out to my view, I'm going to go over here to the underlay settings, and I'm going to click it from none to main level. And now it shows the main level. And then the other thing I want to do is just make sure that the underlay orientation, instead of looking down, is looking up. And that fixes a couple graphical items. Like if I look down, do you see how it's showing the walls that are up? So I drew there's a tray ceiling and then there's some soffit walls that also are up there. And so it's showing me as if there's walls in the middle of the bedroom, but there's not. So if I look up at the ceiling instead of down, it makes that view better. So I always do that. And then the other thing I do is I go to my visibility graphics, and under ceilings, I override the projection lines so that they are dotted. Let's do a 16th inch dash. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. So now you can clearly see, oh, and my soffits as well. So if you go to visibility graphics, I think I already had that set, but it's under roofs. If you go to roofs and expand it, there is soffits, and you can see I've overridden the soffits as well. So there you go. Now we're seeing up at the ceiling, and it's half-toned because it's an underlay, so it's automatically half-toned. But I can at least see, oh, there's my tray. Here are my soffits on the exterior of the building. So now I'm set up for success, right? So it goes without saying before you go, or hopefully it goes without saying, before you start doing your outlet layout, your switch layout, and your lighting layout, you do need to have the stuff that they're going to be hosted to first. So if you're going to have floor outlets in the floor, most likely you want your floors in. If you're going to do lights right now, you should have all of your ceilings in. And I'm going to put soffit lights in, so also your soffits need to be done. So when I look at this in 3D, you can see I have all of my ceilings in. I've vaulted. I've taken my time to get the ceilings the way I want them. But once you've done that, now we're ready to start placing our electrical stuff. So let's start with the easiest. Let's start with outlets. So the most common outlet is just a duplex outlet. And so you should have by now, if you've watched the other videos in this playlist, you know you've already loaded in your electrical out. You've already loaded in all of the families. I went over that in another video, so they should be in here. So all you have to do is come over. I'm going to do architectural component, and then let's start with a duplex. And the thing you need to be careful of is I have loaded all of the 2D families in here, so you just have to be careful you're not grabbing the 2D items, that you're grabbing the 3D. And then you just need to pick what type it is, whether it's ceiling, floor, or wall hosted. So to simplify that, rather than having to dig through that search panel, you can go that route, but I'm just going to grab the one I want from over here. So I want a wall hosted, just a normal outlet. So I'm just going to hit the create similar command. And then I can just go about putting these where I want them. So I want them on either side of the bed, and maybe I want one on each wall. And you'll want to pay attention as you start placing what your placement height is. So this is by the default placement height. It's the standard height for most outlets. Okay, so that's the bedroom. Now let's lay out a bathroom. So for a bathroom, we want GFCI outlets. So I'm going to go back down here, and I'm just going to do create similar of my GFCI, and I'm going to place this at 4 feet. Let's see. The counter height is probably 3 feet if it's comfort height vanity. So I probably want it either 4 or 3.5 feet. I'm just going to do 4 feet. And then I can place my vanity outlets. And that's really probably all I need in the bathroom. We'll put one in the primary closet here. We'll just select this and do create similar command. We'll put one in the closet, and that's really probably it for the bathroom. Okay, so that's the outlets. I'm gonna I'm not going to do the whole thing for you. If you'd like to see the whole thing finished, you can refer back to the sample project file that comes with the download of your families. But that's basically how I would do the outlets. The only other thing I might add is in the great room, probably a floor hosted outlet would be nice. So let's just do a normal duplex that's floor hosted. So I'm going to grab that and create similar. And I'm going to put one wherever I think the furniture is going to be. So I haven't done a furniture layout, but I'm imagining my couches and my end tables will be somewhere right there. And then maybe even the office, the center of the office, if I have a desk in there, might need one that's floor hosted. Now, ceiling hosted, I don't do very often, but in the case of this house, we have a home theater. So I'm going to grab ceiling hosted, and we could do dedicated this time, and we'll create similar. And I will put it, my projection screen is going to be up here, so my projector is probably going to be at the back of the theater, right there in the ceiling. And I can even add a label to this that says, we'll do PR for projector. And now we know that that's a dedicated outlet for the projector. Okay, so now let's even say in this bedroom, I actually want this outlet to be higher. Let's make it 4 feet high off the ground so that we can do a wall-mounted TV for the primary bedroom folks. And so with that, let's move on to our other outlets. So I'd like a cable run to go from down low up to the TV. So I'm going to grab that. We'll create similar. And if I look at its placement height, it's a foot off the floor. So we'll do it 1 foot off the floor. And then we're going to place another one up high, 4 feet off the floor next to the outlet. So that one's right there. So this one's my high one. This is my low one. Now this is where it is handy to have the symbol offset parameter. So I'm going to offset the higher symbol. I'm going to offset it 10 inches from the wall. So now I can align this outlet right above this one, because most likely they're going to be in the same stud bay and they're going to be right above each other. So there's a low cable run up to this high cable run. And if you'd like to make a keynote or another note to annotate that, I sometimes do that. I'll put a little keynote here that says, you know, cable run from low to high. And then when you look at this in 3D, so if I grab this, I just come in here and do a section box to show this in 3D. And I look at the wall, you can see this is how it would look in real life with the high-low plates and then next to the outlet right there. So it looks good in both 3D and in floor plan, and you're communicating to the electrical contractor what it is you want them to do. All right, we probably also want data and TV in that room. That seems to be the new trend, is you basically need a data outlet with your coax, or you might not even need a coax anymore, but we'll do a coax and a data, and we'll do it 4 feet up high on the wall so that the TV basically has everything it needs in that bedroom. All right, let's, while we're doing it, what other things might we need? Phone is kind of old school. I don't put phone jacks very often in my houses anymore. I do a lot of cable runs in offices if I want to hide. Often I'll hide the computer in the closet and then do a cable run to the desk in the office. And let's see, what else might we do? I think that's probably it for the other, but they function just like all of the other outlets. So let's now talk about, let's do an electrical panel. We need at least one of those in every room, in every house, I mean. We'll do it, we'll put the electrical panel out here in the garage. So I'm just going to put it there, and you can see I picked the recessed one, so it automatically recesses it for me. And you still have your typical settings. If I want the electrical symbol to be further off the wall, I could do that. And that electrical symbol moves. If I want to change the dimensions of this wall panel, I could edit the type, and I can change its width, height, and depth if I wanted to do that, and it will update. So there's my electrical panel. Then sometimes I do security cameras, so we can take a look here. We could put a security camera or two outside in the soffit if we wanted to. So I'll just we'll look up camera in here. And we want a security camera that's ceiling hosted. And let's say I want one in the backyard. And maybe I want one over here by the garage. I could do that at the garage. Another thing that's pretty common while I'm doing soffit mounted stuff, we could do a ceiling hosted outlet that's GFCI, or actually weatherproof. Let's do that. Ceiling hosted, we could do that in the soffit for Christmas lights. That's a pretty common thing. So I could place that at the corners of the house. That's where I typically do it for the owner. And then again, if you look at it in 3D, you can see, oh, whoops, because I copied them from over here, they're all angled. So we'll just want to shut off the angle. So I'm going to click these and uncheck the sloped ceiling so that it knows that there's no slope here. And then you can see those outlets are just flat up against the soffit and they're waterproof. And then there's our security camera up in the soffit. Okay, the other thing I might do is my smoke detectors right now. Again, I'm going to check them so that they're not sloped. And typically a smoke detector goes in all of the bedrooms, somewhere near the door. I'm going to put one in the office just in case someone ever used it as a bedroom. And then I will switch from smoke detector to smoke and carbon detector. Those usually need to be in the hallway outside of the dwelling, just outside of a dwelling unit. So now we've got smoke inside and then smoke/carbon monoxide outside the bedrooms. Next thing we might hit is our doorbell. Let's do a smart doorbell. So I'll place it and we'll probably put it at 4 feet high, just right outside the door. And then I'll change to the chime and we'll put it in the hallway. And I will place that, by default it's 7 feet tall. That's probably high enough. I'll put it on this wall. So now we have our doorbell and chime set. And the other thing we might do, let's do our surround sound in our theater. So let's do our front. We'll do our center channel, and then our front left and front right. And then we'll do our surround left and right, and then we'll do our back surround left and right. Then we can change to our subwoofer. And we'll do that as a recessed subwoofer right here and here. And then we could also go grab our ceiling speakers. Again, I'm going to uncheck the sloped ceiling box. And we can put our 4 Atmos speakers in the ceiling. Now, obviously, if I was doing this and taking my time, I would make sure I lay these out. I'd dimension these and align them to each other so they were in a nice grid. Something like that. And then I would make sure they're offset from the tray ceiling just like they should be, but that gets our purposes done. All right, then again, speaking of cable runs, let's do another for the theater room. Let's do a cable run from the AV room where the data rack is going to be. We'll do a cable run from there over here to the projector. So now we need a wall-based cable run, and now we'll do a ceiling cable run. So we'll grab that and we'll put it next to the projector outlet. And again, I'll take care of it with notes to say, you know, cable run or Smurf tube to AV room, but then you can see, the electrician can see the two areas. Or sometimes I will connect the two cable runs with a dotted line, like a wire, like a wiring diagram, to let them know that those two are connected. Okay, now it's time for switches and lights. I like to do the lights before the switches. So let's just pick a couple rooms. We'll do the primary bedroom and maybe the great room and kitchen really quickly. So for the primary bedroom, again, okay, so a couple of things I haven't been pointing out that if you've done electrical plans before with the out-of-the-box families or even ones you find online, you should already have noticed the workflow has been better than before. Any of those outlets that we put up high would have disappeared in your electrical plan by now, because when you put an outlet 4 feet up on the wall, the outlet is now above the cut plane of the Revit floor plan view. So in order to get the outlet to show, you'd either need to raise your cut plane up higher, which sometimes isn't feasible because it causes visibility problems in other parts of your floor plan. So it maybe fixes the outlet issue, but causes issues somewhere else. Or you have to just move the outlet down in 3D so that it shows up in the floor plan, and you just have to sacrifice what it looks like in 3D. Notice that when we put all of these outlets up high on this wall, they still show just like they are meant to. And that's just a function that we put into the family that you don't have to worry about. If you'll just use this placement height parameter to move that up and down the wall, you should never have an outlet that disappears. And it's the same with the light switches. One of my biggest frustrations was the light switches. They're meant to be 4 feet or more up on the wall, and the default cut plane in Revit is around 4 feet. So I would sometimes have my light switches disappear, or sometimes they would be there, depending on if I had moved my cut plane or not from the Revit default. So you shouldn't have had any of those issues up to this point because the families have that built into them already. The next issue that you shouldn't have with lights now is, because I have my ceilings in and because I have my underlay on and I'm showing my ceilings in my floor plan view, I don't have to now move to my ceiling plan to place all my lights. I can place my lights and edit my lights all in this floor plan view, which is a workflow change that if you're using typical Revit families, you wouldn't be able to. You would have to go into a floor or a ceiling plan to start placing your lights, or you'd have to do some more, one or two more setting changes to your floor, to this view, in order to get it to work. So I'm just pointing that out, just so you can kind of understand the ease of use. So let's say in the primary bedroom, we want, maybe we want a ceiling fan. So I'm going to create similar, and the ceiling in here is flat. So I'm going to make sure I uncheck sloped ceiling, and I'm going to eyeball the center of the room, or the center of the tray. And then maybe we also want some can lights in there. So I'm going to go over here to these are my 6-inch cans. We'll grab those, and again, make sure that they're not set to slope. And I'll just quickly lay out a rough can layout. All right, so the other thing I have is, not only do I have a tray ceiling, but it's kind of a shelf. So if we looked at this in a section, there would be kind of like a shelf plus a tray ceiling. So it's meant to have a rope light or a linear LED strip up in there. So let's go grab this thing called strip light non-hosted. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to create similar, and I'm going to bring it over here. And before I place it, I need to make sure I'm placing it at the right height. So the placement height is at 4'6". So right now, by default, it's meant for underneath cabinets. So we're going to change that to be, let me see what my ceiling is here. I'm just going to look in 3D. So my ceiling is at 9 feet, and it's probably, and it's only a 1/2 inch thick plus stud framing. So we're just going to, let me create similar here. And we'll just put it at 9'6" for now. And we'll just place our first one right here. Now you'll see with this light, its length is an instance parameter. So, and we've got these handles that you can easily use to drag it to the right length, because it might be a little tedious to create a new type for each length of this light. It's meant to be kind of a linear light that you can stretch. So this one, you don't have to go into its type parameters in order to change. So I'm just going to copy it over to this side, and then I'm going to mirror it at a 45-degree angle to this side, and then we'll just adjust its length. Now, if you want to take more time when you're doing this to get it, I usually like the two ends to kind of meet up together, but for now, we'll call this good. So now we've got our strip lights in. Now, the only other setting you might want to change with the strip lights is I'm going to click all of them. And by default, it shines down because it's meant, by default, the most common use for this is under cabinet lighting. So it's set up to be under cabinet lighting. So you'll want to highlight it, and you can hit shine upwards, and it will rotate the light so that it shines up instead of down. So in the tray ceiling, we want it just shining up at the tray. So that's what I've done here, is I just went in and I clicked this little button that says shine upwards. All right, so now the bedroom's looking pretty good. We've got all the lights in there, and maybe we take the time, we do the bathroom as well. We'll do a can above the shower. We'll do a can above the bathtub. And then let's maybe do a small flush light. Let's do a 12-inch flush light, flush mounted light above the toilet. And again, not sloped ceiling. In fact, here, what's better than a flush light would be an exhaust fan. So let's put the exhaust fan in there, right above the toilet. That'll function as a light and a fan. And let's do our 12-inch flush mount. Let's do that in the primary closet right here. And then the last light we need is just a vanity sconce. So we'll grab that and slap it above. There we go. So now we've done the primary bath and the primary bedroom. Let's do the kitchen and the great room. So in the great room, we'll probably just do recessed lights, but maybe for these lights, we're going to go a little bit bigger. We'll do the 8-inch rounds, and we'll do the spotlights so that they can adjust, because the ceiling in the living room is a vaulted ceiling. So we probably want spotlights in here. So I'm just going to, normally you would spend time doing the layout, but I'm just going to place my first one there. And then I'm also going to go to 3D, and I just need to see what the slope of this roof is, or the ceiling. So that's a 412. So that light we just put in, because I copied it from over here, it's right now it's at a 1212. So we're going to go in here and we'll just change it from a 12-12 to a 4-12. And that adjusts the slope for us. Now we can copy that. Again, when I'm doing this, I will use reference planes to do the layout first. Once we've laid those out the way you want to lay them out, you would take more time than I am. I'm just going to mirror this across the vault line and then just look in 3D, make sure that did what I expected it to do. Then maybe this is the dining area, so I'll plop a chandelier there. So we'll create similar. And I'm just going to put this chandelier right there. Then we'll want some pendant lights over the island. So maybe I'll put in 2 pendant lights. Then we'll probably want some more cans in the kitchen. So I'm just going to copy those. And again, you can lay those out however you feel comfortable laying those out. Taking probably way more time than I am to make sure they're laid out nicely. And maybe we do another can over the sink. And then we'll come over here, we'll again grab our strip lights, make sure that they're mounted at 4'6" off the ground and they're pointing down. And now I'm just going to put these under the cabinets. Like so. And some of these need to be adjusted. There we go. So now we've lit the living room, kitchen, great room. Now we've got our lights in, we can go through and do our switches. So I like to start with just the single switch. And let's just go through this really quickly. So the switch will most likely be right here by the door. And now I just think about the locations and what I want switched. So let's first talk about how many switches I need. I need the fan, I need the can lights, and I need the tray lights. So we need at least 3 switches. 1, 2, 3. And then the next question I ask myself is, am I going to switch any of these lights from another location? So in the bedroom, probably not. These will all probably be one location, so these can all be single pole switches. All right, so then let's do the bathroom. And most likely we'll put the switches on this wall. And how many switches do I need? I need 1 for the shower, 1 for the bath, and 1 for the vanity. Let's say those are all in a different circuit. And so probably 3 single poles is fine. Then I'll create another one for the bathroom or for the closet, and then another one for the toilet. And both of these, we just need to have 1 switch. So I'll just click on it, go over here and change it to 1. And then I'm not going to have multiple locations, so none of these need to be 3-way. But in the primary closet, I actually personally, I like those to be motion. So I'm going to change that to a motion sensor switch. And there we go. So now in the great room, let's create similar here. Probably you'll enter the great room from either that direction or from the garage. So from the entry or the garage. And we need to be able to control all of those lights. And I don't know how many switches I'll need on this wall. Most likely I'll need a switch for the entry light and maybe this hallway. So I'll keep this at 3 gang. This one over here, I'll probably want one for the pendant light. I want one for the main lights in the great room. And I want a switch for the can lights in the kitchen. And maybe another one for the pendant. So maybe this will be a 4 gang. Then the other place I might want a light switch is, I'll probably want a switch over here for the can light above the sink, and I probably want one switch for the disposal. So I need two switches over here. One for the garbage disposal, one for the can light. And just to show, let's actually do a dedicated, quickly put in a dedicated outlet for the garbage disposal right here. I'm just going to select that outlet, and for the label we'll do GB for garbage disposal. Okay. Oh, and the under counter lights. Maybe we want those to be switched on their own switch right here. So that'll just be a single gang, single pole switch. All right, so I think I've got most of my switches for these two areas. Now we can start wiring. So this is where it would deviate. If you're using Revit Light, you'll want to just use the detail lines command. So I'll go in my view, I'll just hit the detail line command. And some people like to use a spline. And I personally like an arc. So I'll just do an arc from there, from there to, well, it depends on, some people like to do the center of their lights, others don't. So I'll do an arc from there to there. And then from there to there. This is kind of sloppy, but this is how you would do. Okay, so if you were doing it with detail lines, and then I usually like to make mine probably not very thick, and we'd want it to be like a hidden line, something like that. But now you can see if I was like, oh crap, I didn't align these and I need these all aligned. They go in and I move these lights. You can see the wires are not moving. And then maybe I thought, oh, this needs to be closer to the door. You can see how none of these move with it. And if I try to move, it doesn't just let me adjust the end. So I would have to delete this. And then I have to go back into the line command. And I have to draw a new line. And then I have to, if I don't have the right type, I need to go back. Anyway, so it's problematic, but it's the only option you really have if you're on Revit Light for doing the wiring. So I'm going to delete these because that's not how I prefer to do it. I like to use the arc wire command. So if you go to the ribbon and you go under systems, over here towards the end, there's something called wire. And you can click the wire command. And now you're actually connecting the families. So again, this is something unique to our families. Not all of the out-of-the-box families have your connectors. And I'm trying to remember, I want to say the Revit out-of-the-box families, they have a wire connector for the lights, but not the light switch, or vice versa. And the problem is if they don't have connectors built into the families, then when you move the family, it won't move the wire connection. So I'm just going to show you how you're going to do that with the wire command. So you'll just you'll hover over the fixture till you see the circle with the X through it. That's the connection point. So if you click on that, and then you just point the direction you want it to arc and click, and then connect it to the next light, you can see it makes a nice arc for you. And then you can just keep doing that from connection point to connection point. So now all of those lights are connected. Now I can connect my light to my switch over here. Now you can see, here's something that happens from time to time. Now Revit, when you use the wire command, it automatically tries to guess where you want the line, the arc line, to end and stop. Do you see how when we connected the arc wire, we connected it to the connection point, which is in the center of the light. But Revit knew that you don't want the wire line running through the middle of your symbol, so it connected it to the edge. So it tries to guess where to end the line for you. sometimes it guesses wrong. So you can see when I select this wire, you can see the connection point, this square with the X in it. You can see that it's connected to that light. You can also see it's connected to the switch. But the wire itself is not drawn in the right spot. So if you want to change where the wire is being drawn, there's this little round connector. See this little round symbol? You can move that wherever you want it to. So if it gets it wrong, I just move it back to where I want it to. And over here, see this little round piece? It's right there. So I just move it to where I want it to be. If it guesses wrong, which it often, with the lights, it usually does a good job, but with the switches, it often guesses wrong with the switches. Okay, so now we have a complete circuit. Now if I move the light, do you see how the wire goes with it? Same with the switches. I can move the switches anywhere I want without screwing up my wiring diagram. It all moves together. Even if I did something crazy like this wire, maybe I wanted it connected way out here, just floating off of the fixture, it will keep that relationship as I move it around. So that's the beauty of using the arc wire. And again, if you're using out-of-the-box families that weren't built with all of this functionality built into the family, this isn't going to work because they won't have a connection point. You can tell if a family has a connection point if you click on it. You should see this little square with the X through it. Same with our outlets. See the outlet, you can see the connection point. So for example, over here in the kitchen, let's go to the wire command. And remember we said one of these switches was for this garbage disposal. I can wire the switch to my outlet. Now again, it guessed the location wrong, but you can see that it's connected here and connected here. I just need to fix these little end points here. Put that back over there. There we go. So now if I move that switch, say I wanted it to be somewhere else, it remembers that it's connected to the garbage disposal and it moves with it. All right, so while we're here, let's connect this switch over here to the light. Like that. All right, let's finish the bedroom. Do the arc wire command. And now I'm going to, let's do this over to our main light fixture in the middle. And then this goes to our track light here, or our strip light. And again, you can play with, I'm being fast. I'm usually not so sloppy with my arc lines. And you can move, doesn't have to be to the center of the light fixture. And if you want to, you can show a link between all three of these strip lights. I often let the electrician typically knows that those are all linked together, so I don't always draw it, but sometimes I do if it's not obvious. So for example, in the kitchen, I would probably link all of these to each other. To let the electrician know. Okay, so once everything's linked, I go back and I clean up the arches if I need to. All right. So the rest of it goes pretty much the same way. Let's do the living room lights. This first one that controls all of the recessed lighting, I think I want to be able to control it from 2 locations. So that would mean it needs to be a 3-way. So I'm just going to set both of these, the first one to be a 3-way switch. And then we'll do an arc wire command to start connecting these. Looks like that. And then we need our final wire over here to our connection point. And again, it looks like it. Sometimes it's hard to find the little round circle for the end of the arc wire. It's not always at the end of the arc wire, but if you move it, you'll quickly know. There you go. So now we're all wired up there. And just basically, it's the same thing as you continue to go through the rest of the light fixtures. All right, and then just like that, pretty soon you'll have your plans wired, and you'll have this nice electrical plan that is easily made, and you can control the graphics very easily, and it's way less headache, and it will look good in 3D. So now if we want to walk through this plan, let's just let's do a quick walkthrough. Oops, I got a little crazy with my walking here. Let's just look in here. Now as you look down the room, you can see, okay, maybe this light needs to not be so low. And if we want, we can choose not to slope its base since it's right at the middle. And then these, it looks like we need to do a 4-inch slope, 412 slope at the base plate. So now our pendant lights are hanging the way we want them. Maybe they need to be a little shorter too. Maybe that's a little too close. But as you look through the room, you can see all of the can lights are in the right spot. The pendants are in the right spot. The switches look correct. You can even see under the cabinet lights are in the right spot. And the 3-gang switch looks like a 3-gang switch. You can see the doorbell chime. You can see the smoke detectors. Everything looks just like you would expect it to in real life, but it also looks correct in our electrical plans. So there's no sacrifice between the two. All right, good luck. I hope this saves you lots of time and frustration. And thanks again, as always, for using our products. We invite any feedback you might have so that we can improve them as time goes on.